All right, what's up, everybody? Just give me a sec. I'm just trying to share this out. Bear with me. Definitely got to share it there. All right, make sure you guys share this out, especially if you're in Minnesota. Let me share this. You'll have to wait. All right, so yesterday, I came across a post on social media from a fellow independent journalist, Lockhart Media, and they got into a little bit of trouble. So yesterday morning, Cortez Rice had another court hearing in regards to a probation violation, all kind of stemming from the charge of uh, the alleged incident of intimidation to a judge. For those of you that have been kind of following that case, so with the Dante Wright shooting and killing by Kim Potter, Hennepin County District Court was not going to publicly air that that trial, and a lot of activists in Minnesota took issue with that. Cortez kind of led the front on that, went to the judge's residence, and there were some issues. He ends up getting arrested. They put a warrant out for him. He ends up getting arrested for intimidating a judge. That ends up resulting in violation of probation conditions. And kind of following that case later, that charge would end up being dismissed. And he's still dealing with probation violation. So Lockhart Media has been following that case pretty closely, covering everything. There's never been an issue. Many activists have been recording these Zoom meetings and all of these. Now, mind you, these meetings are open to the public. Anybody in the country, in the entire world, can go and watch. You don't need a special password to get in. You can literally jump in on the court hearing and open your mic up and start protesting right there. You get booted from the room. But the point is that this is live streamed from the court publicly. They have to, right? And everybody can watch it. And even more, you can literally jump in on the case. It's a little different here in Wisconsin. They don't do that. So he ends up getting an email from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department yesterday. Okay. And the email, let me just pull this up, the correct verbiage, because I don't want to get in trouble for misquoting. The email specifically says, Lockhart TV Media, we have been made aware that your Facebook page live streamed a Hennepin County District Court proceeding this morning, February 28, 2022. In conferring with the Hennepin County District Court, we learned that authorization was not given by Hennepin County District Court to record the proceedings as outlined in Rule 4 of the Minnesota Court Rules, which I have attached. We are asking that the recording be removed from your Facebook page immediately. and this was signed by a Detective Stacy Braun of the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office Investigative Division. We put a call out yesterday trying to get a hold of Detective Braun, and literally moments ago got a phone call from a Jeremy Zoss, Director of Communications at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. So we couldn't even get a hold of the actual detective. They refused to talk to us. Everything gets diverted to these media relations officers, public information officers, to push out a narrative and fill you with a bunch of nonsense. So we spoke on the phone. The beauty about Wisconsin and Minnesota is that they're one-party consent states. We recorded the phone call, and I'm going to play that for you guys because it's really interesting. Now, they sent over a copy of Rule 4 in regards to visual and audio recordings. Okay, and I'm going to read this. All right, and then we're going to play the phone conversation. So we're making a big deal about this because you have a court and a sheriff's department that is applying policy, okay, not law, policy, to independent journalists, right? And this is a big deal because there was something done inside of that courtroom yesterday that potentially violated Mr. Rice's civil rights, and this was live streamed by this journalist who live streamed a live stream. Let's just make that clear, okay? And somehow they got wind of this and they want this thing gone. They don't want this video circulating across social media, okay? So the rule that was sent over, we asked for a copy of it so we could be specific. So Rule 4, visual and audio recordings. Rule 4.01, general rule. Except as set forth in this rule, no visual or audio recordings, except the recording made as the official court record, shall be taken in any courtroom, area of the courthouse where courtrooms are located, or other area designated by order of this chief judge made available in the office of the court administrator in the county during a trial or hearing of any case or special proceeding incident to a trial or hearing or in connection with any grand jury proceedings. Visual coverage of recording includes film, video, and still photography. This rule may be superseded by specific rules of the Minnesota Supreme Court relating to use of cameras in the courtroom for courtroom security purposes, for use of video audio recording of proceedings to create the official recording of the case, or for interactive video hearings pursuant to rule or order of the Supreme Court. Okay? Everything in here talks about video or photography inside, not only the courtroom, but anywhere inside the courthouse, which every journalist knows is a no-no. You can't do that. You have to get permission. You can't even record inside the lobby, which is publicly accessible, right? Time, place, and manner restrictions. So it generally goes to the chief judge. Chief judge, you have to get permission. But this rule specifically states, by its own verbiage, as far as video and still photography inside of the courtroom. Lockhart was not even in the state of Minnesota. He was not inside the courtroom. They're trying to apply a policy of recording inside a courtroom to somebody who live streamed a live stream. It doesn't work like that. And then you don't get to just start applying things that aren't written down, right? And start making up your own rules. It's not how it works. You start violating constitutional rights then. And more importantly, you start stepping on journalists who are acting in the public's eye to make sure that you guys are getting the information that you need to get, have access to, right? So that's why we are over here at Never Stop making a massive deal over this, because you already know me. I don't care. But I wanted to read that rule. Okay. So that's what this is about. They're claiming, and talking to Jeremy Zoss, who has no information, wasn't even aware that Lockhart was not even in the state of Minnesota, physically inside of a courtroom. They're looking at this and applying this policy as if he was inside the courtroom and then just picked his phone up and started recording everything that was going on in the courtroom. And you're going to hear all that in this recording. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. So let's get into that. I want you guys to hear this. This is how corrupt systems are. So when you're watching protesters in the streets and you're sitting there stomping your feet and bitching about them being in the streets, and they're talking about corrupt systems, okay? The courthouse is being corrupt. The police department's being corrupt, right? Shitting on people's rights. This is why. It's stuff like this. So maybe instead of losing your minds, maybe pay attention to the message and what's actually happening. So this is the phone conversation with Jeremy Zost, Director of Communications at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office.
Well, yes, I'm the Director of Communications, so I respond to most media requests.
Okay. Yeah, so, well, I was calling to get a statement from that particular officer, but in particular, there's an independent journalist out of Wisconsin that has been following Cortez Rice, several hearings involving that individual, and no different than corporate media, ripped some video from a hearing that happened yesterday morning, and then received an email. So I was kind of curious on what the issue is.
Well, the difference is that the corporate media applies for permission to air the video ahead of time, and it gets that expressly granted by the courts.
And this has happened in every case that's come out of Hennepin County?
Correct. Yes, every single time there is a case in which cameras are allowed in the courtroom, which is rare in Hennepin County. Before George Floyd, the Derek Chauvin trial, most of the time cameras were not allowed in the courtroom.
Sure.
But so every time there have been cameras allowed in the courtroom, they received the corporate media requested permission, received explicit written consent to film
in the courtroom.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So if they're receiving written consent, I'm assuming from whichever judge is that a case would be in front of, is that, or does it go in front of like a chief judge or?
No, it would go through the courts has its own communications team, so they'd apply through that court's team, and then I believe it is up to the individual judge's discretion, but you'd have to ask the courts team on that.
Okay. And then, just to be clear, that's the film inside of the courtroom.
Correct.
Okay. So this gentleman was not inside the courtroom. So what's the issue?
Well, where did the video come from?
From you, your district court. You guys publicly aired this for the entire country to have access to it. The entire world could have tuned in.
I haven't seen the video, but we don't typically air video ourselves. So usually it would be something that a local media outlet would be airing.
No.
So in that case, the question would be, did the live streamer obtain consent from the media outlet? But again, I haven't seen the video in question, so I can't say where it was sourced from.
Right. So, I mean, which is a big reason why we specifically asked for Stacey Braun. We know that the email sent to the independent journalist was sent by Detective Stacey Braun, right? I'm getting that right? He's a detective, right? And
Yep.
not only is the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department accusing this individual of filming what you're saying inside the courtroom, checked with the Hennepin County District Court. This is the conclusion. This individual is not in Minnesota. They're in Wisconsin. So
Sure.
what did they violate? This was a publicly aired Zoom hearing. There's no password required, so it's not like they hacked into, got a password. Like here in Wisconsin, if there's Zoom hearings, they only allow parties that are part of that case, the lawyers, witnesses, the defendant, plaintiffs, whatever. They have to, have a password to get into a Zoom hearing. You guys don't do that for whatever reason.
Sure.
So this is a publicly viewable thing that was out on social media from Hennepin County. It's everywhere. So I guess I'm just confused on why the threat of potential court action for something that is publicly viewable, well within open records laws, and didn't violate filming inside of a courtroom. So I guess I'm kind of confused.
The airing of the Zoom, even if it doesn't require a password, is not consent to film said Zoom meeting. That's the violation. And if you have questions as to why that is, you can direct that to the Hennepin County Court.
It's a public video.
I don't make the rules, I'm just telling you the rule.
Right, but you're a Hennepin County sheriff, right? I mean, we have the Constitution for a reason. This is a publicly viewable video that mainstream media, any media, can refer back to a video. If you guys already aired it, I mean, it's the same thing with body cam videos and dash cam and all of that type of stuff. If you guys already air something, there's no public protection from disclosure.
Your beef is with the county court, is what I'm telling you. We were asked to investigate. They found that this was a violation of the county court's rules. If you want an explanation of the county court's rules, I would direct you to call the county court.
Could this have been? I'm going to ask you a direct question. So during this particular hearing, there's an allegation that the particular judge presiding over the case may have violated this individual's rights, and this is because this hearing was live streamed, and then live streamed on top of that, that it went out. And is that more the reason why an independent journalist, not protected under corporate media, was targeted?
I'm not going to speculate on any sort of reasons for anything. All I'm going to give you as an answer is the investigation found this was in violation of the county court's rules, and if you have a problem with the county court's rules, I can happily direct you to the county court.
Okay. And what violation? What was the exact violation?
There was no consent for this to be rebroadcast on your particular media outlet.
Is that written down somewhere?
Well, it sounded you were on the receiving end of this email, so you received the Minnesota Court Rule 4?
No,
No visual or audio recordings except the recording made as the official court record shall be taken in any courtroom. Now, I realize this talks specifically about the courtroom, but this is the rule that is justifying the use of Zoom recordings as well.
Does it say that in there?
Do you have this email?
No, see, that's where maybe you missed that part. I'm not the person. I'm another journalist here in Wisconsin.
Okay.
writing about, or possibly writing about this incident. So no, I've seen the email, but that's why I'm asking you guys for comment.
Well, I have no official comment other than I would direct you to the county court because it really does seem to me that your issue is with the court's rules.
But it's you guys that are investigating this and sending out targeted, I'm going to call them threats to a journalist who has a First Amendment protected activity to, act in the public's eye. And you're telling me about a violation that specifically has to do with recording inside of a courtroom, which I think every journalist around the entire country knows better than to record inside of a courthouse anywhere, even in a public lobby, without some type of written permission. I think we're all well aware of that. But that's what I'm saying is, you guys, as the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department, are sending out these sort of targeted, potentially intimidating or threatening style emails that, hey, Mr. said journalist, you're in violation of rules for recording inside of a courtroom, yet you were never even in the state of Minnesota, but then trying to apply something additional on top of it. It just doesn't, it doesn't seem to make sense. And sure, while there may be questions for the district court, I'm just confused on why, if you guys are investigating this, you see what the rule says, that there's no videotaping inside of a courtroom,
right,
and the journalist didn't do that, why would there still be these kind of harassing emails sent out?
You consider that we are asking the recording be removed from your Facebook page immediately is harassing?
I've
got the email in front of me. It seems pretty polite to me. My interpretation here, and again, I'm going to direct you to the county court for your further questions, is that we were asked by the county court to investigate a video rip that did not receive permission from the court. They sent along the rule that governs it. If you want to ask why, if they have a rule that more specifically covers video conferences versus in person, that is, again, a question for the court. You and I'm sure both understand that not every single rule and regulation in the state government has been updated to perfectly reflect the world that we live in COVID-19 times. So
sure, but that's where we start.
The best rules that we've got at the time.
But that's where we start running into.
Someone at the county court made the determination that Minnesota Court Rule 4 covers this particular instance and asked that we pass that along. You would ask why we are targeting individual independent journalists. Well, we were asked to investigate the journalists who didn't follow the rules as set forth by the court.
Which
is not trying to intimidate people because they're not backed by corporate media, as you say. These are the outlets that didn't follow the rules as outlined by the court. So I don't really have anything else to say to you other than it seems like you have some questions you can direct to the Hennepin County Court. I'm sure they can explain to you better than I can how Minnesota Court Rule 4 does in fact cover video proceedings.
Do you have a copy of that part that you can email to me?
Minnesota Court Rule 4?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. Can I give you my email address?
Sure.
All right. Let me know when you have a pen and paper.
I'm ready.
It's Never.Stop.Voices @gmail.com.
Okay. I will send this right over to you, and I will send you a contact at Hennepin County District Court, and I'm sure they would be happy to answer any other questions you have.
Okay, one last question. I'll let you go. I'm sure your time's valuable. Sure. How did you learn about this with this particular independent journalist?
How did the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office learn about this? I couldn't answer that. I was just asked to give you a call.
Okay.
This was an issue that came to my desk by saying, hey, this gentleman has some questions. Can you give him a call back?
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too. It's just funny to me. This is just epically hilarious. Rule 4 of the Minnesota court rules applies specifically to filming with video or still photography inside of a courtroom. Inside. We all know you can't do that. I mean, I think even the general public knows you can't do that. You get in serious shit for that. And they're trying to add verbiage to this policy in order to target an independent journalist because they live streamed a publicly viewable live stream of this hearing. Okay? We've been watching for years now, right? You either have a situation where it's a big trial, one mainstream media camera is allowed inside of the courtroom, right? And then every other media outlet rips off of that one live stream for their platforms, okay? Or we've seen Zoom hearings publicly available, right? They're either on a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, publicly viewable, okay? Or we have like DCast, like we have here in Milwaukee, right? Where the courtrooms have cameras lined up in the courtrooms, right? And they're filming and they can switch camera views. Those are publicly viewable hearings. It's public access. And they're trying to apply something. They specifically went after him. And as you heard that Hennepin County Sheriff, Jeremy Zoss, you specifically heard him say he recorded inside of the courtroom. That's why the district court contacted them to have them investigate it and email him. This guy has no idea what the video even is. And if you watch the video, you can clearly see this is not some amateur video that he just picked his camera up and started recording from inside the gallery of the courtroom. And they're trying to add all this verbiage on top of this policy, which is ridiculous to begin with. These are serious constitutional issues, right? And they're just never challenged properly. So it's left to these judges to decide whether or not, the public is going to be allowed to view this on this grander scale. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a nightmare when it comes to journalism. But they specifically targeted him for filming inside of the courtroom and told him he needs to remove the video because he violated Rule 4, which specifically states you can't film inside of a courtroom. He wasn't in the courtroom. This is ridiculous. So, yeah. So I'm going to post this. I'm going to try to upload the audio of the phone call just by itself so you guys can hear that ridiculousness. And same thing, like I said, I'm encouraging every independent journalist to take the Cortez Rice hearing video and post it to every one of your platforms. This is ridiculous. And just like corporate media, right, when they don't get their way and they stomp their feet, they have this little coalition and they all band together and then they file a document with the courts. We all, as independents, regardless of sides, none of that matters right now. All of us, this is where we need to band together and start being part of a giant team so that we have our own coalition, because we have limited protections, which is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, no. But anyway, before I go on a 4-hour-long rant about this, so the original Cortez Rice hearing is up on our channel. There's another little video kind of explaining what that video is, why it's up there, what we're doing, and this is sort of the next installment in all of that. So, yeah, enjoy.